2, so we can hopefully get out of this chapter soon. Okay, so we've talked about these organic molecules where we've got the sugars, we've got the lipids. This is how we want the body to be using material. Sugars first, lipids second. Now, proteins. One of the things that happens with proteins, we have to think about their structure. The structure of proteins is amino acids strung together. We take in foodstuffs that are proteins, and what our body has to do is our body has to take those amino acids and put them together for what it needs to make. So when we take in proteins, think about foodstuffs that you might take in, meats for example, certain legumes, okay, materials that are going to provide your body with the amino acids. What's going to happen, your body will break them down into their component parts. Those little parts will make their way to the cells. The cells will use them to make proteins. What? Did that make sense? We're going to have to eat proteins to break them down to get the amino acids to the cell so the cell can make the protein. We're going to have to eat proteins so that the body can break them down so that the amino acids can make their way into the cell so the cells can make proteins. I know, really weird, right? So, those amino acids, here's the problem. The body cannot store these. Whatever we take in our diet, the body most likely is going to immediately reuse them. If that is the case, and if the body is going to have to use proteins for energy, this means it's going to have to take proteins that the body has made and break them down. Now, where do you think the first place is going to be that the proteins are going to get broken down if the body has to begin utilizing proteins as energy? The muscles. Wait a minute. What kind of muscle?
Skeletal, like
the first is, of course, going to be skeletal muscle. Do you know why that's not good?
Well, because once you start to break it down, it's hard to build it back.
The body can't rebuild it.
You can't build it.
You can't rebuild it. So, those contractile proteins that are what's helping all this movement that you do with your body, okay? The walking, the running, the breathing, all of this stuff that you do with your skeletal muscles, that's going to get broken down. And this means wasting away. And I'm sure you've heard of that, okay? It's very prevalent in people who are in, like, for example, their last stages of cancer. People who are in the final stages of cancer, one of the things that happens, they lose muscle mass. They tend to just be skin and bones, okay? Other things are breaking down, trust me, okay? But that is very noticeable for the people who are in the final stages. Other diseases can cause it too. When we look at proteins, their structure, once again, our protein structures, that we have, the structures are carbon to hydrogen bonds with oxygens, nitrogens, some other groups that are existing, all right? And this means high energy molecules. So as we look at the proteins in our body, proteins, once again, I'm going to state, the only thing a cell can make is a protein. Because that is the only thing a DNA, the gene on a DNA, can code for. So therefore, at any point in time, your body's over 50% proteins. Because look at what they do. They help with regulation. Enzymes, remember how I was talking about breaking down the sucrose molecule? Enzymes control chemical reactions. Did it signify any particular chemical reaction? No. It simply says chemical reactions. Metabolism is the sum of all chemical reactions in your body. Enzymes are doing that. That's pretty cool. They're going to, when we look at regulation, hormones, they're going to be regulating physiological processes. For example, insulin's effects on glucose. Where is insulin made? Pancreas. All right? It's made in the pancreas. That means that there is a gene on the DNA in the nucleus of the cell of some of your pancreas cells, not all of them, okay, some of your pancreatic cells, and it codes for insulin. Is insulin coming from any other cell of your body? No. But is the code for it found on every cell of the body? Yes. Does it need to be active in every cell? No. The only time it needs to be active is inside that insulin cell, okay, inside that pancreatic cell, coding for insulin so that it can make the insulin, and the only thing a cell can make is a what?
Protein.
So therefore, insulin is a
Protein.
da-da. Ever thought about that? You will now. Proteins will function in transport. Hemoglobin, which transports oxygen. See, don't get too hung up on the CO2, okay? But hemoglobin, which transports oxygen, is a protein. Oh, yeah. Plasma proteins transport a lot of substances in the blood. What's the heck is the plasma protein? Don't worry, you'll learn. Okay? Proteins in plasma membranes. Everybody read this one with me. Proteins in plasma membranes control the movement of materials into and out of the cell. That is the crux of everything you need to know. That right there. They're going to be for protection. The antibodies, stuff for our immune system, which helps keep us healthy, proteins. The actin and the myosin in the muscles are for the contraction. Do I signify, or does that signify a type of muscle? How many types of muscle do we got? 3. Skeletal, muscle, smooth. Actin and myosin are present in all 3, not just skeletal. Structure, collagen. Ladies, how do they promote collagen to us? Go get the collagen injections, you know? Y'all ever seen that? Okay. However, there is way more to collagen than thinking about it plumping up the skin. Okay? Yes, it's very important, but collagen, structural framework in many areas of the body, most definitely. Even bone. Collagen is the structural framework for bone. Think about it, it's pretty cool. Keratin, tend to see that listed in beauty products because it is for hair, skin, and nails. Energy, yeah, we can break them down, but it's not a good idea. Let the body use those sugars first, use those lipids second, pull from proteins last. Now, proteins, because they are so important, their structure determines their function. The structure of proteins is amino acids strung together. Do you happen to remember how the body codes for putting together the amino acids? That's okay, we're going to talk about it. Do you guys remember transcription and translation? Okay, this is how we're going to string together those amino acids. So when we look at the structure of amino acids, when they're simply strung together, this is their primary structure. So we just simply take amino acid after amino acid after amino acid after amino acid, where it looks like we have this nice long chain. Now, if that chain begins to fold or sort of like fold in to itself, that's our secondary structure. If the secondary structure begins to bend and twist, this is termed a tertiary structure. When you have 2 or more tertiary structures together, it's quaternary. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, for the structures. A good example, and they're trying to represent it right here, a good example, hemoglobin. Now, what's our understanding of hemoglobin?
It helps
transport oxygen. Now, how many of you also think that it does the CO2? No, it doesn't. Now, does that mean that the red blood cell doesn't carry CO2? No. But the hemoglobin, it would actually, if it transports CO2, it will transport it at a different